Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Ali Moreno and Shaka here. So later on in the show, Jan will be with us as we discuss how Italy are so bad, even Norway can beat them now. But we kick things off with the breaking news that Ange Postecoglou has been sacked as manager of Tottenham, despite delivering their first bit of silverware in 17 years. Season 3 cancelled. That's quite good now after he promised that Season 3 is always the best one. Outpost, meanwhile, the back page of every single newspaper dominated by this news as well. Come in. Jan Fjortov. Jan, you surprised?
I am surprised when I thought that he maybe had too much credit in the bank after getting money in the bank, building up a trophy for Tottenham Hotspur. But I guess when the first thing I was thinking when I saw the news, I was thinking of, oops, he did it again. That's what Livi do. And they lost 22 games in the Premier League. They've been miserable in the league. Yes, Ange adjusted good against Frankfurt. He adjusted well against Bodo Glimt. He was lucky, but still got it over the line against Manchester United. But all in all, you can't be surprised when you have a terrible season like that. But after getting that trophy, I thought maybe we'll get a couple of 3 months to sort it out. But Levy don't do things like that.
Right decision, Shaq?
Yes. Listen, and I understand how emotion played a part at the end of the season, Spurs lifting silverware. And maybe that changed the discussion a lot. But the truth is, and while Ange tried to dress this up differently, ever since January, and even, I get it, they had injuries and he had to cope with that, but there was no improvement in this team throughout. And as a result of Ange not being able to improve this team, I'm not sure that, to Jan's point, there was much equity left in the bank. Then he lifts silverware, and there's an emotion that comes with that, which maybe forces you to think differently, but Daniel Levy quite clearly shows he's not one to get hung up on too much emotion. And in the end, I think it was the right decision. It's one that I felt have been coming for some time.
I don't know that clubs actually work in this manner or they operate in this manner, but if you're Daniel Levy, you probably pay attention to what went on in Manchester United last season. And that emotional component of winning a trophy late that somehow diminishes everything else that happened leading up to that moment. It's impossible to ignore what happened to Spurs leading up to Europa League. Leading up to actually winning this trophy, to be able to ignore all of it, I think would be a disservice to the club. I agree with Shaka in that from January on, there was a change, a dramatic shift, I think, in the attitude of Ange Postecoglou and the manner in which he addressed his team and he addressed the media about his team. He went from being a likable character to then all of a sudden everything he was pushing back. He became very nervous and testy about things. And all of those things are signs of somebody who's losing control. And it was clear to see that he was no longer in control of the group, at least in the Premier League performances, and that he could not get the best out of whatever players were available, injuries notwithstanding. And the injuries happened to everybody, and I'm not going to use it as an excuse for Ange Postecoglou. And so therefore, if you cannot make adjustments, if you cannot get anywhere near the best out of your players, if you finish 17th in the league, and had it not been for a really awful batch of teams that were relegated, would have been in a relegation conversation, this is not a team that's taking steps forward. And to try to polish it with the Europa League and say, we're all good, here we go, season 3, I think, again, it would have been a disservice to the club.
Having said all of that, Jan, he leaves with his reputation certainly not in tatters.
What a statement that is. I mean, coming in and say, I will do it in the second year. So yes, he goes with that trophy. It's an interesting discussion because I do understand everything that the boys in the studio are saying. But having said that, I mean, you are in a football club to win trophies. And I'm not saying that it should be the only kind of conclusion of an analysis of a season. Yes, they will look terrible in the league. And it looked like it didn't have even close to a plan B in the Premier League. But it's quite interesting to discuss these kind of things because he delivers silverware. I mean, is there one thing that is hard to find at Tottenham Hotspur? at the stadium, that silverware, and he produced that. And I think Postecoglou will somehow, that saved him. I take the point with Ten Hag thing, but as you also seen in a bad period of Manchester United, is it 5 finals they've been in the last 4, 5, 6 years? Tottenham haven't been in a final since I was young.
But
so there is a bit difference.
He won silverware in a mediocre competition. A diluted version of the Europa League, without the big boys making the move down from the Champions League. And what you hanging your hat on, I suppose, at the start of next season as to why he is the man to take you in the right direction. And at what stage does he look at it again and go, oh, actually, don't worry about the Premier League. I'm going to focus on the Carabao Cup this time. I'm going to focus on the FA Cup this time.
Fair enough, Dan, and that is a part of the analysis. But we shouldn't leave Daniel Levy out of this, because he has been sacking managers for fun over years. This is not a man who have the Midas touch. He has not everything. He said, "Oh, I'll take him. He'll give us gold. I'll take him. I will do him gold." So it's a part of when we compare different clubs to each other. This is Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, this is Daniel Levy. He's firing managers all the time. He fired Mourinho before a final. He has tried all kind of different managers. So I still think it's an interesting discussion. I get the emotional part. I also get the things that is he the guy that can take us to the next steps next season. And if they don't think so, he should be fired. But Daniel Levy hasn't done this in a bubble. He has done this based on a track record of bad signings, bad firing over the years.
Who's the next manager going to be, Jan?
I see Frank from Brentford. Thomas Frank is from Brentford.
That'd be great.
Frank Leboeuf.
But I think I'm going to talk about me for 15 minutes and then you go out and score.
Yeah, Pochettino won't leave before the World Cup. Scott Parker just been up with Burnley. Will Xavi do that? I'm not sure. So Thomas Frank could be a favorite, but we've seen what had happened to managers in England going from, we saw Thomas Potter, for example, going for Brighton with a clear philosophy, didn't work at Chelsea. Can Thomas Frank do the same wonders with his different tools at Tottenham Hotspur? Well, need to be seen. I'm not sure that he will do that. Everybody speak highly of him, but it's a tough place to come to Tottenham. Having said that, it can't be worse than this season in the Premier League, can it? Yeah. So it could be a good time to go.
Does this make sense to you, Shank?
It does. Just kind of given his successes, albeit with a limited budget and a smaller club in Brentford, I think it makes an incredible amount of sense. I will agree with Jan in that Daniel Levy has played a part in some of this Spurs. I want to say mediocrity, but we are talking about a team that won the Europa League at the same time. But Daniel Levy has played his part in how long it's taken Spurs to lift silverware, to establish themselves as the kind of club that I'm sure their fans expect them to be. Thomas Frank coming into that situation, given that long list of very good managers who've served under Daniel Levy and have failed, in all honesty, you just wonder for Thomas Frank handling that situation. But just in a vacuum, in terms of an appointment, it's a good one.
And apparently one of their main targets this summer, Benjamin Sesko. Ali's not jumping up and down. Look at him. No. He's not that excited.
Still sitting.
By the possibility of this transfer, Jan. What says you?
Well, I do understand, Al. We're both full of German Football League. We've seen Leipzig this season. We've seen Sesko. Yes, he is a prospect. Yes, he's maybe one of the best number 9 that is available at the moment. But this is not a finished product. I think you always have to see a club like Arsenal. What do you do to take the next step to get closer to Liverpool, to get closer to Manchester City? Sesko's been around. He is a good player, but I won't say that I get Højlund feelings of him. I'm just saying that it's the same prospect of taking it. No. But when Højlund was signed, everybody was jumping up and down because he had done well in Atalanta. He did well for Denmark. But I'm not 100% sure that Sesko is the one to take them to the next step.
So what have they seen? What have they seen that you and Ali haven't seen?
No, No, we see what Sesko is doing.
I think Jan just said he's a good player. And Sesko is a good player. But Arsenal need great player in that position. He's good, not great. May, and I mean if he takes a leap in his performances and leap in his consistency and leap in his productivity, he may become great. But where we are right now, he's good, just not great.
To keep up to date with the latest transfer news as and when it breaks, be sure to check out Transfer Talk over on our website. We'll, of course, be keeping you abreast of all the latest news as and when it happens. Confirmation there, the Italians just mustered one shot on goal over the 90 minutes. Taking a look at what that means for the group. As I mentioned, that was Italy's first game, so they have 0 points. Norway are perfect. Look at that. Three wins out of 3, 9 points out of the available 9. Let's get some reactions, shall we, after the game from the Italian squad. Donnarumma said, "We are Italy. This sort of match is unacceptable." Kind of sets the tone. Coppola said, "Looking at the players, you cannot say Norway are a stronger squad, but you have to prove it on the pitch. Aside from the names, our first shot on goal came at the 80th minute." This is what Spalletti had to say. "I need to talk to the president about their intention, their view on the decision I make. I chose this group because I thought there was quality. But if we're so fragile that we don't keep an offside trap, we don't chase down opponents, then there is a lack of confidence. Quality isn't enough without that." I'm not quite sure why you need to speak to the president about that, but there we go. Jan, was that the Jan, why are your eyes like that? Have you just been crying? Has it been so emotional?
Yeah, I have been emotional. Yeah, I just came back from the stadium, quick shift. It was a rainy day in Oslo, so I had to change my clothes.
And that was fantastic. Really need that detail.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I need a detail because I don't sit in football games like this. But having said that, I've been fortunate to play in the stadium many times. Had been part of some great wins there. But the first half against Italy, that was one of the best I've seen. And also in the second half, we came out to control it. And you said, Dan, they had the first shot on goal in the 80th minute, Italy. We had a clean sheet. And remember, this group could go down to the Italy-Norway game. And now we're 3-0 up against them. We kept a clean sheet. We know that we have players going forward in Martin Ødegaard, in Sørloth, in Erling Haaland. But today, the man of the match was Anthony Nusa. He's not had a great season. He's been injured for Leipzig, but he was unbelievable today. And Donnarumma just felt how Sommer felt in the Champions League today. So can I call him Donna Summer?
No.
Is that okay for you? No, okay.
No,
I'll just try.
Yeah, that's not the demographic we're after. But thank
exactly.
Thank you very much. No.
Thanks for the try. Yeah. But it was a fantastic day. Imagine Italy and imagine those players who come from this, starting the group, playing Norway, and they had the ball. Possession was 60-40 for Italy, but we were so efficient going forward. And for this group of players, we talked about it. How can you not qualify when you have Haaland, when you have Ødegaard, when you have Sørloth scoring the goals for Atletico Madrid, and also Nusa? But today they needed this game. You know, every generation, every team need a win, a big win, and so they did today. So I think this could be a very turning point for our boys.
As much as you want to wax lyrical about Norway, Jan, what was wrong with Italy?
Well, Italy. The comments were there. They started the game off. We made it 1-0 in the 14th minute, and up to then they kept the ball, but there was no power. There were no strength, and the people around me who didn't understand a lot of football, they said, we don't know any player in their team except Donnarumma. Of course, there was a striker, Retegui, or what do you say, calling in Italy. He scored 25 goals for Atalanta this season in Serie A. So there were good players there, but they were like all the same somehow. They were all on the same level. And when they went down, and yes, Spalletti talked about the offside trap. Well, Erling Haaland never goes in offside anyway. And Sørloth took the goal very well, waited for Donnarumma to go down, then put it between his legs. So Italy. Well, we would a lot talks about the centre half not there, but it has to be said that the 20 best centre half is better than our twos, and we managed to make a clean sheet. So well done to the boys. Big respect to them. Italy was miserable, but I think it was also us being great.
To objective view now, Ali.
Well, I think the best thing I can say about Norway is also the worst thing I can say about Italy. this was easy for Norway. Easy. Comfortable 3-0. Comfortable, never in doubt, never in question. And while Italy had the ball, it was all by design. Norway forced Italy into positions in which, when they could press the ball, press it together, force a turnover, first pass going forward, and you have Haaland running, and Antonio Nusa running, and Sorloth actually running in behind as well. And to the point that Diego Coppola, the defender, was making there, right? He's a defender, Italy defender, you think, strong. Guys that cannot be pushed around. Sorloth makes the run in behind for the first goal, and his attempt at defending Sorloth was, let me nudge you out of the way. It's never going to work. So while he's talking about, hey, we're not getting goals or we're not getting shots on goal until the 80th minute, worry about your part of the game. And the part of the game for Diego Coppola is to defend and defend the runs of Sorloth and obviously Erling Haaland. And they didn't do that. Italy, to me anyways, they look slow. Predictable with the ball, but slow defensively. And no better evidence of that than the goal by Antonio Nusa. While it is well taken by Antonio Nusa, and I appreciate the change of pace and the dip of the shoulder and splitting the defenders, Italy were moving at a completely different speed than Antonio Nusa. Nusa splits a defender, and this defenders, there is no help coming from the inside. Guys are not stepping into positions where they should be. Late midfielders tracking back. Antonio Nusa splits the defender, and he finds himself basically one-on-one with Donnarumma from the top of the 18-yard box. Again, this is Italy we're talking about that traditionally should be a much better defending team. They were not defending well with Inter in Champions League, and they did not defend well today against Norway. Norway were great. Italy, horrendous.
Top of the group, by the way, automatically qualifies for the World Cup. Second goes into a playoff. Yeah, when was the last time Norway in the World Cup? It wasn't when Craig scored, was it?
I was. 1998.
Oh,
we were in 94, 98, 2000. So it's 25 years. Let's hope and pray that we'll make it this time.
Always some interesting inclusions in this, and a lot of discussion to boot. And I have no idea who voted. Well, I voted for this, but I don't know who voted in this order for the top strikers: Mbappe, Lewandowski, Kane, Haaland, Lautaro Martinez. The top five. Jan, I'm sure you agree with that.
Well, Mbappe scored 41 goals this season, and everybody said he had a terrible season, around 40 goals. Lewandowski, I think I can live with that. I can. Maybe Erling Haaland up with Kane, but Kane getting a title, that is quite rare. So I guess when they are similar, you're gone there. Erling Haaland played in a terrible Manchester City team, never got one cross, and they didn't do one counter-attack, and he scored 31 goals, which is not bad.
Right, so Jan, are you okay? What's happened? I was expecting you to be ranting and raving.
I'm always analytic. I'm always
Not
there.
analytic.
He's been the best striker for the last couple of years, Erling Haaland. And this season, he is a part of a Manchester City team. But I'm just saying, when you see a Robert Lewandowski, what the movement he has around him, and Harry Kane at Bayern, I would have probably took him above Harry Kane. But I can live with Lewandowski and Mbappe.
Wow. We've done a special ESPN FC 100 podcast to take you through the top 100 and to discuss the order. Be sure to check that out. That's available now on YouTube and our FC channel. That is indeed all expected goals. No one even got above 0.5 in a match finished 0-0. This is what Carlo Ancelotti had to say after the game.
Pues creo que ha sido a nivel defensivo un muy buen partido. Creo que el equipo ha tenido una buena actitud, orden, ha tenido a veces buena presión ofensiva. Creo que atrás lo hemos hecho muy bien, no hemos concedido oportunidades prácticamente. Esto es lo bueno que hemos hecho. Y después, en la otra parte, que se podía ser mejor, con balón, con un juego un poco más fluido, pero creo que al final un empate bueno, con un buen partido, salimos satisfechos, con confianza para el próximo.
So what does that mean? Well, Brazil sitting fourth, they'll qualify. It'll be fine, no problem. There are some bigger games going on literally as we speak. A certain Venezuela in action against Bolivia. Very much all to play for. Thank goodness for Daniel Levy, or else we'd have to try and fill a show talking about that rubbish.
Well,
Good luck.
You know, Carlo Ancelotti, he's not wrong, and I think this is a clear statement as to where Brazil is currently. This was a good result for Brazil. This 0-0 draw at Ecuador, given what Ecuador have been in World Cup qualifiers, given what Brazil is currently in World Cup qualifiers, it's a good result for Brazil. That is now the standard. Obviously, it wasn't the standard in years past, but it is where we are currently with Brazil, that a 0-0 draw at Ecuador is a good result. And to the point that Ancelotti was making defensively, yeah, they looked organized, they looked well structured, they did not get stretched, they did not get out of positions, they did not expose themselves, and did not allow Ecuador to create many opportunities. But I would also say that if there was a team that was going to win this game, it was more likely to be Ecuador than Brazil. Brazil, in the attacking half, in the final third, nothing. No dynamic movement. No explosion, no creativity.
Which is exactly what we said pre-Ancelotti.
Correct. No defenders joining in the attack in wide areas, no outlet, whether that's Alexandro or Vanderson or whoever it may be, that we always think of Brazil as at right back getting in the attack, say a Cafu, for example, or at left back getting the attack, say Roberto Carlos. That's not happening. Even by the way that they were set up, you were not getting Alexandro to get forward, you were not getting Vanderson to get forward on the right-hand side. You're not getting midfielders with creativity joining in the attack either. So while, yes, they were structured defensively and they were organized, there were no chances taken forward, no risks taken forward. And it was all about whether Vini Jr. could do something, did a couple of things, and that's it. The rest of this team, offensively, nominal contributions at best. 0-0 is a result that was fair. If anything was going to win, it was Ecuador. In the end, a good result, positive result for Brazil, even though it's only a draw.
Did you watch what you doing Football America, Shank?
Somebody owes me 90 minutes of my life. Somebody owes me 63 minutes of my life back. That was a hard watch.
That's no way to speak about Football Americas.
That was a hard watch. Added to all the things Ali's saying, and you wanted to see Brazil's improvement, or if there would be any under Carlo Ancelotti. I thought what Ecuador did, and they set up very well defensively very early on, and exposed Brazil's biggest shortcoming, in my opinion. There is simply no creativity in midfield for Brazil. So unless Brazil were able to win the ball back in the attacking third, there just was no kind of attacking threat for Ecuador to worry about. And that summed up Carlo Ancelotti's big challenge for this side, because even when you look at the starting 11, nobody jumps out as that player who can make a difference from midfield. And as a result, it really offers very little in terms of what we've come to know and expect of Brazil teams in the past.
Franco Mastantuono,
Sí.
tenemos que hablar de él para nosotros que estamos en Estados Unidos, que no lo conocemos muy bien. ¿Qué nos puedes decir de él y cómo lo ves en el futuro con la selección?
Franco Mastantuono, bueno, mirá lo que te digo, es un zurdo muy hábil, buena altura, quizás no el físico por la edad que tiene, no es un jugador que vaya mucho al choque, pero sí que con su velocidad y habilidad que tiene, se lo saca de encima a cualquier jugador. Tiene mucha calidad, es un jugador muy asistidor. No sé si te diría que es un goleador, ¿no? pero sí que tiene goles, pero es más un asistidor y un jugador más de equipo, y que tiene mucho peligro. La verdad que es un jugador que cuando lo ves sabes que es distinto a lo demás, y cuando está muy cerca del área es muy peligroso. Yo creo que cuando un jugador está con ganas de salir, al final creo que el club tendría que hacer, digamos, un acuerdo con él para que se vaya de la mejor manera, porque al final si uno no está contento no termina de rendir bien, pero Pero bueno, veremos ahora a dónde va. Yo leí algo pero no sé si se va a quedar o no. pero yo creo que es un jugador que cualquier equipo lo va a querer.
By the way, Masato Ono, who was the first player they were discussing. No, go on.
I'm just saying, it's going to be a challenge, him being in La Liga.
But I said that right, though, yeah?
We're almost there.
There we go, there we go.
It's going to get better.
That's the first player they're discussing. It was the exciting youngster coming from Argentina. Alex will be with us tomorrow to give us more detail around that move. Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Thank you very much for all of your questions. Ali's here, Shaka as well. Jan is here after watching his mighty Norway beat Italy live in the flesh.
Hey, baby! What a night. What a night at Ullevål Stadium. We beat mighty Italy. Italy's so great team. Azzurri, we beat them.
Yes.
Grazie mille.
Yeah, this is the first question. Jan, European giants, Norway defeated some southern minnows today. How much joy is there in Norway right now? First ever World Cup in the making.
Ooh. Well, we have tonight to celebrate, and then people would say tomorrow we'll probably lose points now in Estonia when we go with them Monday. But it's time for this team with those class players to get to the World Cup. And Dan, I need a guest room because I'm coming with my boys to USA.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, come and stay with me. That's no problem. Lovely. Start bench or drop. Which countries missing the next World Cup would be the biggest failure, Shaka? Norway, Venezuela, or Trinidad and Tobago?
Ah, boy.
Oh.
If Norway miss at this point, they're the biggest.
Okay, Venezuela winning 1-0 at the moment against Bolivia. This would be
on a well-taken goal. Really well-taken goal.
That's to stay in the playoffs. Who's the South American playoff against? You know?
Well, it's actually 4 other teams from Asia.
Oh, so you're playing against?
Yeah, it's complicated.
But you'd be favourite whoever you're against.
Well, yes.
Right. Okay.
But you know,
there we are.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's get in the playoff first, and then we can talk about that.
Jan, is Ange's tenure at Spurs statue worthy, or could it just make a beginning of a change in mentality for the club?
Is this a joke, or they haven't read? Should we get a statue?
Yeah.
Ange, you mean? Oh, that would be a new one. Danny Levitt saying you're fired, but you get a statue. I mean, that is a new one. Same happened to Kevin De Bruyne, by the way. Didn't give him a contract, but they gave him a statue. So maybe this is the way forward in English football clubs at the moment. But Ange, we discussed it in the show, Dan. It's an interesting discussion because he did deliver silverware. Yes, in the Europa League this season, the Champions League losers didn't come down, but still, he delivered silverware, and maybe they should have kept him for at least some more months.
Jan, where would you most likely have a statue? Frankfurt?
I got a stadium named after me in my home village. You can start there.
Okay, how many seaters?
We don't have seats.
No
to be
seats,
fair.
right?
No, it's in the nature way. Now, I could have statues in 4 different countries, so that's a hard one for me, Dan.
Oh boy.
All right, calm down, Jan. All right.
Well, yeah, we can't.
Let's
You
get a
can't.
group discount on them statues, shall we?
Hand them out.
Buy 3 statues, get 1 free.
Go to Swindon. Go to Swindon.
Go to Swindon. On a statue there, lovely.
Magical Roundabout in Swindon is well known all over the world. Put my statue in the middle there.
Loved hearing about all the famous people who had the honour to meet Stevie. It was so funny last night because I knew that Stevie had met Nelson Mandela.
Right.
But it took him like 20 seconds to say who the most famous person was. And I was like, what's he thinking about?
Well, that's a question that you can ask in general about Stevie.
Yes, exactly. Do we have Stevie's photo ready later? Make sure you have that. Anyway. What about Ali and Jan? Can you beat Mandela and Princess Diana? No.
No, you can't beat them. I met the Pope.
Okay.
Pope.
That'll do.
It's not bad. Not bad.
That's good.
Yeah, I got it on my office, a big photo of myself with the Pope, so I'm happy with that one.
Okay, lovely.
I remember we had Usain Bolt here.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
It was lovely.
Craig wasn't nearly as welcoming.
No, well, that's standard, Craig.
we just let anybody in the show now.
Yeah.
Presidents, I've met President Bush.
President Bush, Obama.
Yes.
President
You've been to the
Obama.
White House, yeah?
Yes, been to the White House a couple of times.
Kane was obsessed about the Downing Street bathrooms, which was quite interesting. How do they compare to the White House bathrooms?
Well, I don't know. I haven't been to Downing Street, but I would say that the bathrooms in the White House were white.
Right, okay. Well, there we
Clean
are.
and white.
There you are.
I will throw some footballers in. I made a selfie with Sir Bobby Charlton.
Nobody cares about those. Jan, would you...
What's that all about? Sir Bobby Charlton,
you're
you
a
can't
footballer.
insult
You're going to
him.
meet footballers, aren't you? I think people
I'm
are...
gonna meet. I'm not that old. I can't. Sir Bobby Charlton. I didn't play against Bobby Charlton.
Well, unprofessional then. You shouldn't have got a picture. You shouldn't be working. Jan, would you consider Wirtz, McAllister and Gravenberch the best midfield trio in Europe? Better than PSG and Barca midfield?
No. No, I wouldn't.
Which
That was a question.
yes, which one would you have over them, PSG or Barcelona?
Right now, I would say PSG because the mixture of skill, discipline, energy, intensity. But I'm, as everybody else, very influenced by the Champions League final, of course.
And by the way, just the question itself is wrong. Florian Wirtz will not play alongside McAllister and Gravenberch in the midfield. He will have a different role. Right. His role will not be of a back and forth box-to-box midfielder. That in itself disqualifies the question.
Where do you think he would play, Al? Do you think he would play as a 10 or on the left side? What do you think?
Well, either one of those, and just give him the freedom to go find the game and feel the game the way that he does so well naturally. So I wouldn't put him in the midfield. I'd put him in a more advanced position.
Okay. That question null and void.
I'm just saying. If we're going to ask questions.
That's gone.
Be better, Paul Lindo.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Paul.
He's in the chair.
Oh, no, please.
Yes,
no, I've been very smiley today.
He has been very
winning.
smart. That's just one moment that he's had his moment.
Yeah.
Had his moment.
Ali, what will happen first? The Cowboys winning the Super Bowl or Manchester United winning the Premier League?
I think the Cowboys are closer to winning the Super Bowl than Manchester United winning the Premier League. And let me just say, it's not easy for me to say that because I'm a jaded Cowboys fan.
Well, I think most Cowboy fans by nature are jaded.
But Al, it's quite easy to say that because every NFL team is closer to win the Super Bowl than Manchester United is to win the Premier League.
Well, fair enough, but that was the question, Jan. I'm only answering the question.
Final question. Do we have the photo? Is anyone in? Have they left for the weekend? Yes. Okay, here is the picture that I was sent today by one of our colleagues. At Nora's school lunch and forgot to take off my slippers and put my trainers on.
How do you do this? How do you forget to put on your shoes? Well, he went for comfort. Let's just say he went for
Well, no, he just went
comfort, relaxed
forgetting.
look. Huh?
By the way, this is in Boston.
He drove 2 hours.
He drove 2 hours to Boston.
Have a half-hour
I
lunch
didn't
with
realize what shoes he had on. Oh, boy.
He went for comfort.
Very good. Have you ever done that, Shaka?
No, I haven't.
No.
I have a record down. I went to a gala award dinner and I had 2 different black shoes on. Thank God I brought the left and the right.
Wow.
But I have 2 shoes on. That was a tough one as well.
Yep, there's a story as well of Stevie getting on the Liverpool bus in Eleanor's pants.
Okay.
Where did that start? Where did that come from?
Not underpants, just pants,
Okay.
trousers, however you like to put it. But yes, and for some reason he decided to tell people that
Different
Amazing
kind of
thing is,
game, and that's a different kind of
Of course he
relationship.
does.
I wouldn't tell a soul.
Of course, Eleanor then burnt them. She got them back.
You haven't lived unless you go and visit Stevie and he opens the door and he's in his robe. And that is, woo!
That is quite the sight. On that note, that brings us to the end of today's show. ESPN FC will be back tomorrow with Stevie.
Hey!
What will he be wearing on his feet?
Hey! I'll be hitting
Hey,
Are
hey.
you, Shaq?
I'll be right. I'll be back.
Oh, where are you going to watch
Norway,
it? Are you
Italy
gonna watch
3-0. Norway,
it
Italy 3-0.
in the car?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm watching it here. can't watch on my phone while I'm driving, Dan.
You've been
Don't
listening
be
to
silly.
it. You can listen to it, can't
No,
you?
we need to watch it, Dan.
Oh, break it
So
down.
I need to focus.
What's your prediction?
There'll be a good football game on, Dan.
Ready? Well, yes, it just won't be that
Now
one.
we're going to beat St. Kitts, surely.
All right, goodbye.